Okay, the word of today is gibberish or gibberish. Gibberish.
Gibberish, unintelligible or meaningless speech or writing, nonsense.
Unintelligible or meaningless speech or writing, nonsense. Synonyms are nonsense, garbage, balderdash, blather, rubbish, etc. Okay. This is one of my favorite words. Oh, by the way, cream puff. Delicious. One of my favorite words. It's almost onomatopoeia, like jibber jabber. Absolutely great. Reminds me of a story. I don't know, since the 70s, late 70s, we would go to this theme park in Southern California. Not naming any names. And they had a ride it's like a bobsled downhill mountain ride. Not naming any names. And every time you'd stand in line, there was a little voice over a speaker. It's just a little mono voice that would say, basically, remain seated. People, please stay seated until the ride comes to a complete and final stop, and thank you and have a great day at this theme park. And my brother had always, there was a Spanish interpretation, and my brother had always interpreted it as, "Sermoni ser sentamos, por favor." And we always assumed he was right. It just sounded like that's what was being said. It was a little mono speaker, so it sounded like that was being said. I'm talking from the 70s, the 80s, and I mean, decades. Sermoni ser sentamos. And so recently I had this sort of yen to figure out what a literal translation of this is, and found that the real word, the real phrase, is permanecer sentados. Okay? Sentado. Excuse me. So.
Permanecer sentado. Permanecer sentado.
Okay. So that's the real phrase. That's really what they're trying to say. And I found it a little interesting. Well, first of all, I mean, obviously, the way we were saying it was not right. It was meaningless. It was nonsense. For decades, I mean years. And so the literal translation of permanecer sentado is stay seated. The interesting thing I found about that was that they would go, and again, this is Orange County. This is Southern California. Okay, and this recording had been on since the 50s, 60s, whatever, and it was long and elaborate for the English speakers. It was very much, hey, please remain seated, and thank you, have a great day, and please be careful, and blah blah blah. And then they'd get to the Spanish version, and it would be basically, sit down, it'd be like, yo, Mexi, sit down. Don't go. Don't get out of the ride until it stops. There's an interesting backstory to this whole thing, but I always just found that to be inappropriate, and so I kind of prefer it to be Sermoni ser sentamos, por favor, because it is gibberish. So, and sometimes I prefer that mode of operation. Yeah. Okay.